If you lose, hey, it wasn't on you. You were just going to lose, but you showed up. You did everything you could. So same mentality. I was like, all right, we still got ideas. We still got things we haven't tried. We're going to try. And within 60 days, we were in like the 6-figure annual like numbers. Immediate results from pivoting into that.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast. I'm here with Becky Williams. I'm so excited to have you here. Becky is the founder of USOS. She's also a recent graduate of C2C. She has been training Jiu-Jitsu since 2014 and currently holds the rank of purple belt. And in doing so and practicing Jiu-Jitsu, she was frustrated with all the cheap essential oil soaps that are marketed to Jiu-Jitsu athletes. And she was determined to formulate a high-quality skincare solution for athletes with sensitive skin. So thus she created USOS, which specifically repairs and protects grappler skin after brutal training sessions. So welcome, Becky. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on here. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, me too. And I was just talking with you behind the scenes. I'm absolutely loving the hair. It looks fabulous. And clearly, like, you know what you're doing when it comes to skin and hair.
Thank you. It is a lion's mane. Yeah, it's long.
It's amazing. Like, I would do a lot for hair like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, okay, I want to go back. 2014, you started training Jiu-Jitsu. What first got you on the mat?
Yeah, so I actually went through like a domestic violence situation with an ex, and I was living in the mountains of Peru at the time. It was very isolated, and it was a very traumatizing situation. And so when I came back to the United States, I had to like basically plan an escape to get back to the United States. Again, very traumatizing. Hate to start the podcast in like such a deep.
No, but it's part of the story, so it matters.
Like going into it, but it is part of the story, yes. And so when I came back to the United States, I was like, okay, I don't ever want to feel that vulnerable again. I'm the type of person where when I see a problem, I like to take action. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are those types of people. And so I was looking around in martial arts, and there's a lot of different types of martial arts. And Jiu-Jitsu is particularly beneficial to women because when women are attacked, we tend to be pinned down by bigger opponents. So I'm not going to be getting into like a bar fight with people throwing punches, right? Like I'm not a frat boy. Like that's not going to be the type of violence I'm encountering. So Jiu-Jitsu is really amazing for women's self-defense. And so I signed up for my first class, and the rest is history.
What a story. I feel like there's more to dive in there. I don't know if I think I mentioned this to you, but I signed my boys up for Jiu-Jitsu because my husband and I are both on the smaller side. And so we know, I mean, even just looking at their percentile growth, like we know our children will be on the smaller side. And they're also skinny at the same time. So short and skinny. So perfect combo for Jiu-Jitsu, which, as you mentioned, is ideal for people who are dealing with potentially an interaction where you are smaller, another opponent is significantly larger and or stronger. Thank you for sharing your story, by the way. I know it probably, trying to sort of rehash that may bring up bad memories, if any. So thank you for sharing kind of the backstory.
I'm super used to that by now. I feel like what got you into Jiu-Jitsu is a very common question, not just for me as a brand owner, but women in general. And there's a large percentage of women who share that history and have had that same response. So I'm used to it. And I also feel like we should talk about it because there may be women out there who are wondering what they can do. And Jiu-Jitsu is absolutely a solution. And even for like your boys, the confidence that it gives you to move through this world, just a little less panicked, a little like I have a tool belt of options that I didn't used to have. It is worth talking about.
Wow. Okay. I actually feel like I really want to do this now too, because living in the city, things haven't been looking like the city has been getting a little grittier lately. So yeah, this is actually, yeah, maybe I need to look into this as well.
It's worth exploring at the very least. I know for me, my goal, I mean, I'm very realistic. If anything, jujitsu makes you more realistic about what you can't do against bigger opponents, especially when you have adrenaline, maybe drug use, or like different things that you're confronting in the other person. But what it will give you is it will eliminate that panic button. Like you won't go into a panic if you have practiced these things, maybe even thousands of times after years and years. You have this muscle memory, you will respond differently. And that difference can make the difference between being able to get away and run away or just freezing. That fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a freeze person.
Yeah. Okay.
Deer in headlights, 100%. So it will like eliminate that response.
Interesting. Okay. I love that. Yeah. I was just thinking, I'm like, I wonder if I'm fight or flight. I feel like every situation is so different, or like fight or freeze.
It'll keep your head clearer, which increases your possibilities for escape.
Absolutely, which is the most important part here. So tell me, like, is there a proud moment that you've had over the last, several years as a purple belt and the journey forward?
Yeah, so I would say my proudest moment is very recently when starting in like 2020, I had a really traumatic job loss situation and it created a ton of stress and I started to get heart palpitations. And I basically didn't make any changes to anything and was just like, oh, they'll go away. Long story short, they did not go away. And then I decided to launch USOS and the stress, my palpitations were turning into chest pain. And every time I would train jujitsu, it would get worse because jujitsu is so cardiovascularly intense. So I launched USOS, this like athlete, well, at the time it was an athlete brand, and then it pivoted into a jiu-jitsu brand, and I actually wasn't training. And I took 2 years off. I didn't think I was ever going to go back. And then I recently went back. And to put this in context, when you take 2 weeks off of jiu-jitsu and you try to go back, it feels like you've died 1,000 deaths. So 2 years is like infinite lifetimes in the jiu-jitsu world. But I've recently gone back and I'm actually doing really well. And I realized that I just never really gave myself enough credit. I always felt like the least talented jiu-jitsu person in the room. And now I'm like, oh, I was actually doing a lot better than I thought. I'm pretty dominant in most of my sparring matches. And I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, no, I mean, I give you a ton of credit because I think it is, like you said, it's such a mentally and physically involved practice. For comparison's sake, my husband tried jiu-jitsu. I don't mean to throw him under the bus, so maybe we'll cut this out later. But he tried it one time, like I think late last year, and broke his pinky the first time. No, like no joke, like actually, like went like and kept. So he broke it. He broke his finger, and then he kept practicing for another like 45 minutes. Because he was just like, oh, I'm just going to push through the pain. This is part of it. It's my first time. And then he went to a doctor and got it x-rayed and it was in fact broken entirely. So
yes, the fingers take a beating in jiu-jitsu. If he was training in the kimono, like the gi, we call it a gi, that's really hard on the fingers. You'll see a lot of people taping their fingers before class. There's gripping and then they rip the gi out to break your grips and then your fingers kind of get ripped with it. I have since given up gi. I train only no gi, so no kimono. But what's interesting about that is that that's where you'll find, I would say, a larger share of skin issues is in no gi, because basically that kimono, that gi is like a rough terry cloth robe that you're wearing. So it absorbs a lot of the sweat. And it also is like and it's a layer of protection as well. When you take that off and you're just wearing a rash guard and shorts, the mats get covered in sweat, and then you're rolling around in all that sweat, and then all of your partner sweat is getting on your face and all over your, so changing over to no-gi and getting rid of the kimono. And again, I did it for the finger issues and like just some other things that were frustrating me, has really brought to my attention. And I already knew this, but even more so, how much the skin is really exposed to in the no-gi world. And I would say overall, that no-gi without training without the gi is becoming more popular in jiu-jitsu than it was before. Before you would only find gi training, and now like some of the highest, most competitive events and championships, they're all no gi. They're all without that kimono. It's generally more explosive. It moves at a faster pace. So when you have a gi that you can grab onto, you have lapels, you have sleeves, you have pants, you can kind of stop and hold your opponent. But when you don't have those grips, the match has to keep moving like boom, 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 like you're 10 steps down the road. And so it's fun. It's more fun to watch. And I would also say, so before I go down that tangent, it's more fun to watch. And therefore, these events gather like a lot of spectatorship.
I see. Interesting.
And then the UFC also, I would say, has a huge impact on that, because in UFC, they're not fighting with gis on, although there were some matches back in the day where old school jiu-jitsu guys would come in with the gi, but now it's all, either shirtless guys or women in sports bras, and that's it.
Interesting. Fascinating. So it makes sense that it would create a lot more friction, right, against the skin because you don't have this protective gi. So tell me a little bit more about, obviously it can be really taxing on the body. What are some of the most common skin issues that you've personally dealt with or others that you've trained with have dealt with when it comes to their skin?
Yeah, I mean, you name it. So if you have like any sort of skin issues before jiu-jitsu is just going to emphasize it and worsen it and aggravate it. So you have people with just regular skin issues, right? Like acne, eczema, psoriasis, and they're living and they're doing whatever. And then it's like an annoying thing, but maybe not like a huge problem. And then you start training jiu-jitsu and that problem just explodes because all of a sudden it's dealing with the sweat of like 20 different people. It's dealing with mat contact and friction on the skin. So whatever regular skin issues you have are going to be exacerbated by jiu-jitsu. And then in addition to that, there's more. Yes, you have bacterial infections like staph infections. That's probably the thing I personally have seen the most is staph infections, but also ringworm. Ringworm is a fungal infection. Yeah, that's like super common in jiu-jitsu and in the wrestling world as well. So jiu-jitsu and wrestling are sort of adjacent. Well, they're not sort of adjacent, they're adjacent. There's a lot of crossover between the two because wrestling, like for people in high school and college, you have seasons, right? So when you're off season, you might train jiu-jitsu to like keep up your training since there's like a jiu-jitsu gym on every corner now. And interestingly, girls wrestling in high school is the fastest growing high school sport right now. So a lot of girls are getting into.
Really fascinating. Very cool.
Yes, I know. So ringworm's really common in that world. And then there's different viral infections that just look like little raised bumps on the skin. And all of these things are contagious. So if somebody has this, yes, right? Even better. So if somebody has this infection and then they go and they train and they're leaving their sweat all over the mat, you may not even train with them and you may contract it just because you've rolled over their sweat.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So it's gross. Jiu-jitsu is gross. When you just fair warning, we talked about all the amazing benefits of it. It's also disgusting.
Oh my God. It sounds like it.
Yeah. I feel like that's why the jiu-jitsu community is so tightly bonded because we all go through this disgusting ritual together. We all pay to go through this disgusting ritual together. It like bonds you.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like makes anything like that will be very bonding. Like in my case, when I did like swimming, collegiate swimming, it was the constant chlorine, the breakouts, the green hair, like just like all these things that you have to go through. I think that's the case with like anything that you do in an extreme sport, or not, sometimes not an extreme sport, but anything that you do that like where you're doing it really competitively or regularly, it really brings people together and is like a way for camaraderie, because it's like, we're in this together. We're doing, going through the same thing. So then you were seeing this as an issue. You were wanting to continue to practice, and, you were frustrated with, number one, any repercussions of practicing, but also I'm sure preventatively as well. So what gave you, like, what was the moment or the aha moment where you were like, I want to create something to solve this?
Yeah. So part of the aha moment, and I'm sure there are entrepreneurs who will relate to this, coming out of the 2020 pandemic, just kind of like, what can I do just from a business perspective? Like, what can I do to maybe make myself a little less vulnerable to like my employer and what they can and can't do. I hated that vulnerability. I feel like that's a theme, right? Is trying to eliminate vulnerabilities, whether it's physical, business, economic, whatever, right? So that matched up with my love for skincare. So I love ingredients in skincare. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but the woman who founded Paula's Choice, Paula Ben, I don't know how to say her last name. Okay.
Yes. I don't know what her last name is, but I know you're talking about. I know our listeners also know. Mostly everyone knows about Paula's Choice.
Yes, of course. And so probably most people know that she started writing books. And one of them was Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me. And the other was Don't Go to the Makeup Counter Without Me. And I was in high school and I found they were huge, like encyclopedia thick books. And I was walking around at a Borders across the street from my house and I found this book. And I was fascinated because she was the first person that I saw to go beyond the label and actually explain the ingredients. And so that like ignited this love for ingredients and formulas. And I just basically nerded out on it all the time, but kept it in my back pocket. And so over the years, I developed these opinions about skincare, to say the least. I'm an opinionated, unapologetic person anyway. And in my community, all I saw was these terrible quality jiu-jitsu soaps and just different versions of the same terrible quality jiu-jitsu soaps. And I'm not afraid to say it now, but I was afraid to say it in the beginning of the business. And that was part of the transformation that I'm sure we will get into. But what it really is these jiu-jitsu bros who've been around for a long time. They know their community, so they know how to market to their community, but they don't know anything about skincare. They're not interested in knowing about skincare. They're not interested in any sort of elegant formula. It's kind of like just a cheap, quick fix marketing thing to be like, oh, wash with our, overly essential oiled soap and like your skin will be protected against infections. But if you are somebody who struggles with sensitized and reactive skin, those products are like dropping a bomb on your skin.
100%. It's like almost like better not to use them at all.
Yeah. So then you're left with like nothing, which sucks too. So I just felt that there was a hole that maybe I could fill. So that was kind of how those two ideas came together, just being ready to step out on my own in general economically, and then also seeing this void and wanting to do something actually different and interesting in the space that used more than just bro science.
Love this. It's so clear the way you like share that, because it's like twofold, right? And I appreciate your honesty of being like, look, I wanted to leave my 9 to 5 situation where I felt vulnerable to somebody who is in control of my ability to grow and make money and have a career and all the things, right? But also on the flip side, seeing the issue, the pervasive issue of products that are just there to be marketed, but are actually counterproductive to the thing that they should be doing. And I like that you said, like, I heard you say like elegant formula, which I think was really lovely. So tell me a little bit more about, like, as you started doing this research, diving into ingredients, what kind of started to stand out to you in terms of ingredients? And then what type of ingredients did you ultimately choose?
Yeah. So I had developed these opinions over time. So when I started, I knew basically like 90% of what I wanted to do. And for our bar cleanser product, so the line right now has a bar cleanser, a moisturizing balm, and an exfoliating glove. And the bar cleanser is made with isothionates, which I think are an amazing cleansing ingredient. You'll find them, they're expensive. You'll find them in a lot of the high-end products like boutique shampoos, high-end face cleansers and stuff like that. You'll see a lot of isothionates if you go into the ingredient labels, because they're these super gentle cleansing ingredients, but they're like physical flakes, which means you don't have to dilute them in water.
That's amazing.
Yes, you can press them or hot pour them into a bar shape mold with like cetearyl alcohol and other like hardening emulsifying waxes to hold them in that bar shape. And what I love about that is that it gives you the high-end cleanse, but I could eliminate a plastic bottle.
That's a huge part of it too, especially from a sustainability side.
Yeah, sustainability, if I couldn't incorporate sustainability into the core of the brand, I wasn't really interested in the brand. Like, everything had to line up. I was not willing to compromise on any of it. And in some ways it's made life more difficult and it made the business more expensive, but I'm proud of it and I stand behind it and I feel really good about it. So I have to have that inner integrity to like move forward. And then for the balm, I just think face oils. When I think about like old school oil formulas in the late 90s, early aughts, it was all mineral oil, and mineral oil creates problems on the skin. And so when plant oils came of age in the skincare world, I just feel like it changed everything. And if you go and look at all different brands, their face oils are always the most consistently top ranked product. Like if you look at reviews and stuff like that, other things may have like, a good rating, but then the face oil will be like almost 5 stars for hundreds or even thousands of reviews. Like, people just have a lot of success with face oils. I also feel like face oils rank really well for brands for acne prone skin, brands for dry skin, brands for eczema skin, all these things. Like, their face oils or skin oils are always like the top ranked products. So I knew that I wanted to go that direction. Ultimately, I chose to whip the oil into a balm just so I could put it in a tube, because there are many reasons I didn't want to use a bottle. They're messy. I also feel like they expose the product to air and light, and I wanted to avoid all those things. So by whipping it into a balm, we could put it in an aluminum tube and deliver this super potent oil-based formula. And then to that formula, I added a broad range of beautiful antimicrobial extracts. There's green tea and bakuchiol and licorice, and also glycerol laurate. And I found out about glycerol laurate because I was once fighting an EBV infection, an Epstein-Barr infection, which is really common. Like 80% plus of the population has the Epstein-Barr virus. It's just not always active. And monolaurin is the commercial form of glycerol laurate, and you can take it internally. You can eat it. That's how non-toxic it is. And that gave me amazing results. It was the first thing that I ever found that gave me actual relief. And so when you apply it topically onto the skin, again, it's like the glycerol version of lauric acid. So it's naturally moisturizing and gentle on the skin. But what it does is it attacks the outside membrane of pathogenic viruses, fungus, and bacteria. So it's truly antimicrobial. It works on all three of these. It breaks apart that membrane, so that like protective envelope or membrane that they have, and then the other antimicrobial extracts go in and actually eliminate the infection. So yeah, so I have extracts like that in the product as well that no one else is using in this space, and they're really effective, really effective.
Wow. Fascinating. Okay. This is so fascinating. I love this. So, and it's great that it's in an aluminum tube. It makes sense especially for a gym bag, right? Like you want something that's not going to break or spill or, be difficult to use. So talk to me about the launch of your first product. What were you expecting and what happened?
Yeah. So I basically launched to friends and crickets. And I'm not a very risk averse person. So I'm not the type of person who will agonize over something before doing it. I am a jump now, learn as we go, figure it out as we go type of person. So in some ways that really benefited me because I actually got it going. And honestly, when you have skin in the game, the desperation to figure it out is augmented, right? It's bigger. So you'll actually look for answers much harder than if you're just kind of sitting around waiting to like gather more information or to learn more. So like you don't have that sense of urgency. So in that way, that sense of urgency was very helpful. It was also horrible just subjectively to go through that kind of stress. And basically, about 10 months after we launched, I was like, okay, I'm not actually learning. I'm not actually figuring it out. And when I reached out to you that month, I had taken like maybe 1 or 2 sales. And I had been doing things like I was doing things that I thought I needed to do, and I was not getting any sort of results. So I've heard stories on your podcast of people who like have these amazing launches and work hard, but also have like really good results within the first year. And I love those stories for them, but it really kind of pissed me off for me because I was like, this is not my experience, and this is really upsetting. So, but again, it was having that skin in the game, in the sense of extreme urgency. Like, we need to figure this out or it's a wrap. Like, and skating that very thin line. And so that's when I reached out to C2C, and C2C taught me everything I did not know, and just things I didn't know that I didn't know. Like, I knew nothing about marketing. That became really obvious. So it changed everything. But I had to launch and go through that in order to like evolve. It's kind of like I was a caterpillar, and the launch was like me being in the cocoon. It was a very, very painful transformation, but like it had to happen.
But I will say though, like one of the things that stood out to me about you and why I felt like you would be a great fit to work with inside C2C is because I could tell you had like a very strong determination. Like, I will figure this out. I will do whatever I need to do to figure this out. Even though you may have been a beginner to like marketing, you had that determination and perseverance and grit that is so necessary to be a business owner nowadays. It doesn't matter what category you're in. Like, it's just needed.
Yes. And I would say that the 10 years that I had spent training jiu-jitsu, I got to practice that grit. And like, oh, it's a bigger opponent, low chance of success. I'm going to get my ass kicked. Guess what? We're doing it anyway. And I had done that. I had done that for years. Honestly, it toughened me up. And so I saw this I was like, all right, here we go. Another challenge. I was perfectly at peace with earning my stripes. So another thing jujitsu has taught me is that you are not entitled to anything. If you want it, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to be consistent. You're going to have to keep showing up. The journey, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I mean, all these cheesy sayings.
But they're so true, though. Like, they are accurate. It is all true.
Yes. So, like, I had practiced that emotional journey for years on the mats before I had to apply it to business. And I knew that those lessons were going to come in and help me. And at the same time, it was terrifying and harrowing. And like, it's a lot. It can be a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I remember us talking about this with like, athletics, with anything where you have to show up consistently day in, day out, or you just don't get better and you just can't compete. That's at a certain point, you just can't win. And so it is easier, I guess, if you have that mentality and that training of like, I'm determined to win and I just have to keep showing up to practice every single day. And then eventually it will pan out. I think that's a huge asset.
Yeah, it's just another hard thing. We're just doing another hard thing. We've done hard things. I know I can do hard things. It's another hard thing to do.
Yes. I love this. This is such gold. Okay, so talk to me about what projects did you ultimately implement inside C2C, and what are some of those tangible results that you saw?
Yeah. So honestly, the projects in the beginning, I would say, still weren't working the way I wanted them to. So I joined C2C, I think in June of last year. It was like summer of last year. And that's usually when you start ramping up like your holiday, or start thinking about your holiday, activities and offers. And I still, honestly, the holiday that followed was underwhelming. And the reason why was because I still had not created a compelling brand identity. So I've always liked to think of myself as a fast learner, but this might be an exception. It took me until like maybe March or April to really solidify my brand identity. And when I first talked to you, the brand was skincare for like active people, which what does that even mean, right? But in my head, I had this vision of like people who go to the gym, people who go on hikes, and also people who do sports and run and jujitsu and blah, 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 right? Like so many brands, I thought that I needed to be inclusive, overly inclusive, to the point where it's just not compelling. Like active people, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like a jujitsu person would not look at an active person brand and think, oh, that's for me. They would not think that. So then I niched down into athletes, hardcore athletes. So then I'm trying to hit endurance athletes, as well as jujitsu athletes, maybe surfers, maybe like snowboarders, blah, blah, blah. And again, not compelling, because these people will look at the brand and say athlete, okay, but does that mean me? Like, is it for me? And then half the copy I write, if I'm writing copy or marketing copy for runners, well, jujitsu people don't care about that. And when I'm writing for jujitsu, well, runners don't care about that. So half the time I'm excluding half the group anyway. And what's funny is I'm doing this in the name of inclusion, right? And I'm actually like excluding, like the irony. I love irony. That's when I know I've hit a profound truth, is when it's ironic.
Yes. Absolutely.
So then I finally was like, okay, I have and I had seen improvements. I had seen my sales double. I had seen conversion rates double, but we're talking about doubling from like zero. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, yeah, we're moving the right direction, but this is still not a scalable brand. Like it's still not moving the way it should be. So then I pivoted into jiu-jitsu. I kind of knew there was like this nagging voice in the back of my mind that was like, you need to commit. You need to go all in on your community. And I just had all these reasons why I didn't want to do it. And a lot of the reasons were because the cheap jiu-jitsu soap brands that I had mentioned before, their products are terrible, but they are multi-million-dollar brands. They are endorsed by whatever you think of Joe Rogan or whatever. Because he's a jiu-jitsu black belt and he interviews so many MMA athletes on his platform. And if you're jiu-jitsu people like to listen about jiu-jitsu. And so he talks a lot about jiu-jitsu and elevates a lot of people doing amazing jiu-jitsu. So his voice in the community is like prominent. And he talks about these soaps all the time. And he tells every professional athlete, have you tried them? Like, you need to try them. Like, I know the guy who started them and blah, blah, blah. And so for me, I'm not even a black belt, Aggie. I'm a purple belt. So for me to step into that space and be like, yo, that stuff sucks. It felt very risky and scary. And I was like, oh my gosh, all the alpha males are going to pile on me and like social media and be like, what do you mean it sucks? I've used it for 10 years and whatever, like stupid stuff. I had this whole dialogue in my head that was not going, like, I had my whole mind made up about it, and none of it was true. None of it was grounded in reality. It was just all of my insecurities. It's kind of like shadows on the wall that you think are real, but they're not. And so once I was like, I either have to get over this or the brand's going to shutter. There is no in between.
Right.
So I was like, I guess we're going to try getting over it. We're going to see what happens. Because I'm just not willing to give up. I can only walk away when I have no more ideas. You know what I mean? Then I can say, well, I tried everything. This is also a very jiu-jitsu kind of mentality. If you're going to go compete, when you go compete, you want to leave it all on the mats. You want to show up knowing you did everything. And if you lose, hey, it wasn't on you. You were just going to lose, but you showed up. You did everything you could. So same mentality. I was like, all right, we still got ideas. We still got things we haven't tried. We're going to try. And within 60 days, we were in like the 6-figure annual like numbers. Immediate results from pivoting into that. And then once I was just strictly in jiu-jitsu, I redid the whole website. Like, if you're not a jiu-jitsu person, a lot of things on the website don't even make sense.
They don't, because I'm on your site. Like, I use you as an example because I'm like, you can't understand, unless you do jiu-jitsu, you can't understand a word that is on your homepage, which is the point.
Yes, I'm making all these references to different jiu-jitsu movements and submissions. There's so many tongue-in-cheek little things that, little sayings and like things that people hear that I'm paying homage to, that if you're in the sport, you get it. But if you're not in the sport, it just goes right over your head. So when jiu-jitsu people read it, now they're like, oh, this is my brand. Like, oh, they get what I'm going through. They understand everything that I'm experiencing. They get me. So once I was in that world, I have further niched in that world to jiu-jitsu people who struggle with their skin. Like, if you don't struggle with your skin and you love, you know how some people just genetically, I always envy the women whose hair is like corn silk, just beautiful corn silk hair. It's clearly a genetic thing. I feel like they don't necessarily have to spend money on like high-end boutique, shampoos to have their hair, because genetically they have their hair. Okay, so people in jiu-jitsu who don't have skin trouble, like they just genetically, they've got great bulletproof skin, cool, go use the cheap crap. Like, you can use the cheap crap and you're fine. But people who struggle, they're the ones that can't use the cheap stuff that really need better solutions. So I've further niched into like, okay, we're not actually for all jiu-jitsu athletes, we're for jiu-jitsu athletes with sensitive and reactive skin. And every time I have niched down more and further committed to a particular audience with a particular pain point and a very specific experience, the conversion rate has doubled and then doubled again. And what's interesting is I'm not necessarily getting more traffic because I'm not spending more on ads. And a person like with eczema, a person without eczema isn't going to see my ad and be like, oh, I want to check out this brand, right? But the person with eczema who's also a jiu-jitsu athlete, they're not only going to check out the brand, they're going to be much more compelled. The brand's going to be really compelling for them. So that was a big lesson in traffic, because I feel like so many people think I just need more traffic. I just need more traffic. And you do need traffic. People have to be going to your website or your Amazon store or whatever. But what you really need are conversions. And if you're gonna get conversions, for me, my experience, I had to take a stand on a very specific point. I had to call out what was missing in the market, which means calling out bad quality, products. And I had to have a very strong opinion. And like the sassier I was and the more kind of just opinionated and in your face I was, I realized like, oh, now this is starting to feel like a movement.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the polarizing effect.
Yes.
This is just I want to put a pin in this because it's such an important lesson for everyone who's listening. And I see this time and time again. And you're obviously not the only one where we're going so broad and way too broad. And there's this really big and strong and real imposter syndrome or fear that, well, if we narrow ourselves down, we're saying no to all these people and we need more sales. So how is that going to help me? And I don't want to, alienate people. And I think everyone has that concern. I think many people have that concern, especially earlier on. So I'm really glad that you shared too, just your process in like being nervous to do so. Right. And in taking the action, it's almost like sometimes you may not be able to get over the fear and then you take the action. Sometimes you have to take the action to then get over the fear.
Yeah. It's that you got skin in the game and you are desperate and it's this or die. If it's not do or die, you may feel like there's still some wiggle room or, but this thing will work for me, whatever thing you're doing wrong. Like I kind of, at some points I did suspect that maybe I could do things better, but I wasn't quite ready. Like I hadn't finished running that bad experiment yet. And then once I was done with it, I was like, okay, no, that does not work. Like I have given it 60 days, 90 days. I am seeing nothing. Like scrap it. We got to move on. And two, something that I find really interesting, like being in C2C and talking to other small business owners in our space who are at the place that I was at in my, post-launch, but not scalable yet. A lot of owners, they'll tell me a story about their brand. And then if I go on their website, I don't see that story anywhere.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking? So if you were to ask me about my brand, I would have told you about jiu-jitsu. Oh, well, it started because, I train and this and that. And then if you would have gone on my website, you wouldn't have seen any jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Do you remember me talking to you about this? And I was like, but where's the story?
Yeah.
But where is this?
Yeah. And it just, again, I had to go through that whole emotional journey of confronting my own insecurities about it. And is my story good enough? And is my story compelling enough? And it's not even, it was for sure the fear of excluding too many people that I won't be left with enough of an audience if I speak, too specifically. But it was also other people who loved other brands and other solutions. I didn't want them to talk shit about my brand because I was saying something different. So it was that too. It was both of those things combined, but they're imaginary fears. They're not real. So.
Oh, and I'm just thinking about it from your perspective and putting myself in your shoes, right? And if I'm, like you said, not a black belt in jiu-jitsu and, you definitely also have that imposter of well, if I'm not a black belt, then who am I to kind of step into this space? And I think the flip side of that is to think, well, I am the everyday practitioner. Majority, I'm assuming, and I'd be curious to know what the percentage looks like, but I'm assuming majority of jiu-jitsu practitioners of the whole market size is not a black belt, right? So then you're really speaking to the majority of people as a practitioner who's like, I get you, I see you, I'm just like you, wanting to train, wanting to get better, wanting to practice, and I'm having these issues, and therefore, like, I get you better than somebody who may be a black belt who, like you said, like may not even have any of these skincare issues, like clearly, potentially, right? So I do think that there's a really relatability and an understanding and an empathy that someone who is, a practitioner like yourself has.
Yeah. So I would say like a couple things to that. First of all, just objectively, factually, it takes about 10 years to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And that would be 10 years of uninterrupted training. Most people move, have job changes, have babies, start families, or get injured or whatever, right? So yes, it's a very small amount of people who actually have a black belt. And those people are basically like gods in the gym because everyone knows what it takes to get that. Like, so you've done it for so long, you kept coming back, all of that. And then, but also I would say, well, and to your point to turning it into an asset, I now kind of like make fun of the fact that I've been a purple belt for so long. Now I had 2 years off of training, but so many people relate to that experience.
Yes, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So instead of hiding it or seeing it as a weakness, I actually like when I talk about myself on my website, I kind of make fun of it. I call myself like a perpetual beta player purple belt, And so I decided instead of hiding behind it kind of meekly or feeling ashamed of it, like we're just going to turn this into a point, again, this opinionated point of like pride, or this is the journey. And it just goes to show how things that you assume are a weakness, again, it's the shadows on the wall. They're not actually a weakness. I think maybe people have I know this is true for me, I have a very loud inner critic. So that voice is overly critical and you kind of lose touch how other people are perceiving it, and they're not perceiving it that way. And you can easily turn it into a strength. You just got to be creative about it and willing to face those inadequacies and say, well, maybe they're actually not inadequacies. Maybe I just have a weird inner voice that has taken over that is distorting reality.
I absolutely just love what you just shared. I think it will resonate with so many of our listeners who are going through the same thing and feeling the same thing. Real quick, any kind of hesitations that you had in working together, and what made you decide to move forward anyways?
I actually didn't have any hesitations. You had come highly recommended from like a personal source who had worked with you for a very, very long time. And I was so desperate. I was so panicked that when I saw the premise of C2C and how it was structured and what it was designed to do, I knew that there were things that I didn't know and things that I didn't know that I didn't know. Like, again, ready to earn my way in, right? Like, I'm not owed this. My intuition is not enough. Like, I need to learn some things. I need to learn some skills. Yeah. And so I remember the first few weeks as I was going through the lessons, oh my gosh, Aggie, I would come home and like redo everything. And then I would listen to the lessons like on the way into work or during my lunch hour at my day job. I was working a day job the whole time. So shout out to my entrepreneurs who are launching while working a day job. My job was an hour. Total drive time was about 2.5 hours a day to going there and coming back. So I had time to listen to the lessons and stuff. So I would listen and then I would come home and redo everything. And then I would listen and then I would come home and redo everything. And it was like this tornado of like, oh my gosh, everything's all wrong. And then everything's all wrong again. And then, oh my gosh, I have to fix this. I got to redo it all. I don't know how many times I've rewritten my website, Aggie, but it's dozens.
1,000. Yes. So many. So many.
So many. Yes. So, again, like just learning so much about it's really like marketing at its core and how to create a compelling brand. Like really that's to me, that was like the biggest lesson is how do you market? And in order to market successfully, the brand needs to be compelling. And if you don't have that foundation of a compelling brand speaking to pain points more than pleasures. So, I mean, there's so many lessons, right? Like so many things you can do, really doubling down on your community and just having faith. There's hundreds of millions of people in the US alone. You don't need a lot to have like an amazing brand. It's okay if you speak to a very small number. That it's the community that you create is actually going to be bigger than you think. It's going to surprise you because people are going to feel so compelled. Like finally somebody did it.
Correct. And also you can always expand it at a later point as you grow and you sort of start to hit, and this is one caveat I will say, like as you start to hit the edges of like saturating your specific niche, which by the way, majority of the time people think they've hit that edge or that border and they haven't even like they're not even close to it. You have the opportunity to expand. That's the amazing thing. Like eventually, like, and we can certainly talk about this at a later point, but eventually like you may expand back into like athletes, but at a way later point, once you've truly saturated this specific space.
100%. And like, I think that ceiling, I mean, I can speak for myself, right? But at this point, I'm convinced that ceiling is like millions in revenue, honestly, before you saturate out. And then you have all of this proof. You have however many thousands of satisfied customers, you have people talking about it. You have like you have accumulated proof of concept to such an absurd degree that when you do branch out, it's like, it's not nearly as hard, people are like, oh, finally,
You were mentioning that like, now you have all these raving fans, all these amazing reviews, all these people who are like giving you glowing testimonials, right? And what's interesting is that you're going to have people that are buying your product that are outside of the jiu-jitsu circle. By nature, you're just going to have people that are trying it like, oh, I wonder if this could work for me too. And by nature, it will expand. But the fact that you got hyper specific is the tool, is the ticket to being able to get really dialed in and create a truly iconic a fan base who is, for lack of a better word, cultish about what you've created and truly dedicated and willing to want to share it to others.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, I don't feel the need to go beg for crumbs outside of this community for probably several years. Like there's so much that I can do in this community. And even if I develop a super strong customer base who's loving the products and enjoying the products, I'm just excited to show up and keep serving them. The need to expand into everything came from this insecurity about one community like not being enough, or my ideas not being enough, or kind of that lack mentality. But when I really turned and faced the community that I chose and see how much potential there is there, not just for making money, but for like connection and all kinds of ways to integrate.
Absolutely. And it's a community you love to be a part of too.
To integrate, to like, sponsor all these cool events and like the nonprofits in the community, like all these different ways to integrate in. I don't need to expand out. And if and when that happens, I mean, I'm not going to, like, when the time is right, it's not like I'm going to say no to it, but I'm not desperate to get there. I'm not rushing to get there. I have so much to do here now, and I'm really excited about it.
Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy. Like, it makes me so happy for you. And I just cannot wait to see what's to come. And so I'm going to ask you about that real quick. Who do you feel like C2C is best for? And like, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think, well, I guess speaking from my own experience, I think C2C is best for people who've already launched, who are aware that there are things they don't know. I mean, I can only speak to my experience, right? But I see I've seen a couple people in C2C who will kind of be like, yeah, I hear what they're saying, but I think for me, like this is okay or that is okay, or I think I've already done that work. I don't really need to do that work. I already know who my customer is. And then I'm kind of like, but do you? But do you?
But do you? Yeah. No,
Like you still haven't really taken a stand. Like it's so vanilla, it's so generic. Like the ingredients are cool, the formula is cool, the concept is cool, but who are you talking to? So, I feel like if you've already launched and got that skin in the game, again, this is my experience, right? But everything in the community, it's gold. Like it's really foundational work that feels boring. So in jiu-jitsu, there are moves that you learn on day one, and after 10 years, you're like, oh my gosh, if I don't get that concept down, the rest of the match is shit. Like these foundational, come back to the foundations, come back to the foundations. And now I love those foundations so much. I'm like, no, how do we fine tune that even more versus wanting to skip over them and think that for you there's a shortcut, or for you can do half the work and still get the same result. And it's like, no, you really got to face your own like voice. What is your voice? What is that for you? Who are you speaking to? What is the thing that you actually want to put out into the world? Because it might not be reflected in your business. But if you are willing to just dedicate yourself to the process, be teachable, be coachable, be a good student, and like actually give these things a try, there's no way you won't have results. There's no way.
and you're right. Like it is a process, and it is for me, like I'm all about the long game, and like similar to you, like as an athlete, as everything worth, I don't want to say everything, but many things worth, waiting for or worth getting do take time, and do take excellence, and do take refinement. And these aren't like, I think you learn this too with age, is like trying to rush the process. You're just doing yourself a disservice. And in fact, it's just going to take that much longer, because you're just going to be like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And it's like, just pause and just give it that extra bit of refinement, that extra bit of time, that extra bit of, like you said, like just really squeezing the most out of those foundations. And like you said, 60 days later, when you finally were like, all right, I get it, I heard you, like, and that's when you see it pop off. And so I hear you, and I love that you're sharing this, because I think I want everyone to succeed. Everyone who has a business, it does, even outside of the beauty, health, and wellness space, right? Like everyone has a business. This is applicable. These are foundations that are applicable to every single business owner, no matter what category you're in. And they are tried and true. And like, it pays off to just get those foundations right the first time. So tell me a little bit more about, rapid fire. Like, is there a dream athlete that you'd want to sponsor MSOs?
So one thing about MSOs is we're not a gendered brand. And that was, again, a jiu-jitsu informed decision, because it is a male dominated sport. I resent gendered skincare. Like, all kinds of people need help with their skin. I understand from a marketing standpoint. I actually didn't understand that when I first started. Like now I appreciate why from a marketing standpoint. But I just didn't want that in my brand. And I also wanted men to feel comfortable using it. So having said that, I've been working mostly with female athletes, because they're just more initiated into skincare. They're kind of already thinking about skincare, more likely to be using skincare. It's just easier, right? But I would love to get like, high-end male athletes, just because I feel like to get a male jiu-jitsu athlete, like a competitive, well-known male athlete, to use skincare is like a crazy win. Like it's because the products are that good and they feel like they need it after trying it, that like they can't go without it. I just feel like they're the hardest sell, like and it would be really fun. So
Yeah, for sure. Would you ever go on the Joe Rogan podcast?
oh my gosh, that's scary, Aggie. I mean, it would be, I know it would be amazing. It would be scary.
I think you should pitch him for sure.
I'm warming up to it. Like as we grow into the community and everything, I mean, who knows? Like he's so in the jiu-jitsu world that, like there's a whole camp going on with Origin. Origin is the brand created by Jocko Willink, who's like, super good buddies with Joe Rogan and like very much in that sphere. So these guys are running around the community. Like they're actually pretty accessible. Like you can go to a jiu-jitsu camp and like meet them. Actually, Jocko's daughter is somebody that I have worked with, like one-on-one. So all these things are accessible. I would want the brand to grow because I want that proof of concept. Like I want to go in and be like, no, we have served like a huge number of athletes and this is why. And, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We're working our way up.
But it's such a better product. It's such a better product. I think once this is the thing, I think once they try it, some of these bigger, jiu-jitsu practitioners, athletes, once they try it, it's game over. Like there's no going back. You know what I mean? And so like, I'm stoked for you because like I said, it's going to keep infiltrating. It's going to go like this person's going to share it with this person who's going to share it with this person. It's going to get in the right hands soon enough, whether you pitch them or not. And so I'm so stoked because they're going to immediately be like, well, this is just a better product, So it's right around the corner. So what's coming up for USOS? Tell me like a little bit about, do you have something coming out? Something coming up? What are you excited about? Where can people find you? All the things.
Yes. So I have 2 products that are about to launch. Supplies have been ordered. Ingredient lists have been finalized. We're just putting it all together. One is a pre and post training spray that you can use on your skin like immediately after training to protect the skin, reduce inflammation. A lot of people with sensitive skin, their skin will flare up and get really red and stuff. So it's like designed to like just immediately reduce that. And then the other project I'm super excited about is a set of lip balms, and each lip balm is like a belt rank.
That is so cute.
I'm like super excited about it. I want to launch it by Christmas because what better stocking stuffer for literally anybody.
This is literally like, I'm not even a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm so freaking excited for this. I cannot wait. This needs to be in like every single, like anyone who's a jiu-jitsu practitioner has to get this for their friend, their spouse, their family member, like anybody. Yes, your coach, your thank you gift, your kids are in jiu-jitsu. This is a great teacher gift, coach gift. I mean, yes.
Secret Santa gift, come on.
This is a no-brainer. I'm so stoked. I cannot wait for this. We have to put this in our gift guide, putting this out there, like for the media that's going to be writing about this, any like newsletters that are jiu-jitsu specific, media, like, content. Oh, love it.
Yes, so excited about that. And then, so those are the 2 like products that I'm going to launch. I'm working on, I've been 2 years working on a hair care, conditioner and styling product. I love, I love hair care, a lot. So I'm excited about putting that together. And then outside of product development, I'm considering like actually hosting our own seminars or open mats. So it would be like a USOS jiu-jitsu seminar. Yeah. So then a bunch of people come and they train and I get to meet everybody and like, there will be product there, but it's really about integrating into the community and supporting some amazing teachers and athletes, giving them a space to have their voices heard and have income and all those kinds of things. So Next year, I want to be at Jiu-Jitsu Con, which is in Las Vegas, with a booth. Yeah. Yeah. So like that's why I was kind of like, I'm not in a rush to leave this space because there's so much to do.
So much. I love this for you. I'm so excited about your journey. I'm grateful to have been part of your journey so far, and I cannot wait to see like all the things that you do over the next many years.
Well, I wouldn't be here without you, Aggie, and without C2C. And I say that, I know it sounds cheesy, but it is true. I would not have figured the things out that I figured out on my own. I would not have I had to have dots connected for me. I needed to have them connected for me in a structured, methodological kind of way. I needed it to be in a safe space where it was okay to try it and fail, or to try it and like not have the best result. And we got to keep tweaking and we got to keep brainstorming and we got, okay, like I needed all of that. And I needed to have things repeated a lot. I don't know how many times you were like, speak to the pain points. Who is your audience? You need to be communicating, like talking to your audience. All of those things. I had resistance in ways that I didn't know I had it because I didn't quite understand it. And so I needed to hear things a bunch of times before I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to start speaking to my audience because I've tried to not do that. I'm only getting so far. Again, we need to try the ideas. We need to try all the ideas before we tap out. So I needed all of that, and C2C gave me all of that. You gave me all of that, and so thank you for that. I wouldn't be here without it.
I so appreciate you, and repetition is key. I agree. I mean, that's with anything, right? Like anything new you're learning, like it's par for the course. So I can't wait. Go and check out Mil Usos. Where can they find you? Like, how can the people follow you? Instagram, website, give us the deets.
Yes. So Mil Usos is Spanish. Mil is MIL. Usos is USOS. It means 1,000 uses. And it's because I made multi-use products where each product has 1,000 uses or will address multiple skin concerns at once. So that's the name. It's milusoskincare.com. And then Instagram. Technically, we have a TikTok. It is very sad. Don't go there yet. That's like in my plans is like revamp it. But now I'm like, oh, I want to get on Amazon first. And so anyway, it's in the works. But the Instagram is where I'm most active. And that's milusos_skincare.
Amazing. Okay. So go follow Becky, go DM her, go try her products. They are amazing. Get those balms. I'm so stoked for these balms. They're going to be the best stocking stuffer.
Yes. They're going to be so cute. I'm so cute. I'm excited.
I have no doubt. And thank you everyone for listening to this to this episode of the Beauty and the Brand podcast. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye everyone.